With the port of Brisbane closed due to ex-Tropical Cyclone Alfred, P&O Cruises has made the difficult and heartbreaking decision to cancel the final ever voyage of Pacific Encounter as a P&O Cruises ship. This Brisbane return voyage, which was supposed to set sail on the 8th of March, had to be cancelled as the ship is riding out the storm at sea and is unable to enter the port due to the port closure. This voyage was scheduled to return to Brisbane on the 15th of March, which meant that it should have been the final ever P&O Cruises arrival as an Australian cruise brand, with the ship arriving one day after the Pacific Adventure returned to Sydney. This is a very significant moment for Brisbane, as Brisbane was the first ever port of call for P&O whilst undertaking cruises out of Australia all the way back in 1932. As for Pacific Adventure, she will now be the last ship to ever operate a P&O Cruises Australia voyage, with the voyage taking place on the 10th of March and returning to Sydney on the 14th of March. This short Sydney return voyage will now become the final ever P&O Cruises arrival with passengers on board, and also the final time that a P&O Cruises ship will pass underneath the Sydney Harbour Bridge with passengers on board the ship. This is a significant moment, as it was a P&O ship that made the first ever passenger transit underneath the Sydney Harbour Bridge when it first opened in the 1930s. So P&O has had a deep connection with the city of Sydney for decades now. After a short period at White Bay Cruise Terminal, the ship will depart that evening on the 14th of March to make her way towards refit, where she'll be transformed into the Carnival Adventure. She'll be joined by her sister ship, the Pacific Encounter, which will have a transformation of her own, emerging as Carnival Encounter. We of course feel very sorry for all those passengers who have been impacted, but naturally P&O has very little options with the port closed, and so much uncertainty around the reopening of the port. Also bear in mind that there are a number of other cruise ships that are impacted by this, and due to the fact that the Port of Brisbane has limited capacity for cruise ships, they will have to sequence the arrival of these various different vessels, which include the Carnival Luminosa. We also send out our thoughts to anybody in the affected area. The east coast of Australia has been heavily hit by this weather system, so we hope that you're all staying safe over there. With P&O's final voyage fast approaching, it'll be a sad day in Sydney to see the Pacific Adventure leave for the last time. However, both of these ships will return to Australian service in late March as Carnival Encounter and Carnival Adventure. I hope you found this update interesting, and until next time, I hope to see you on board.